All right, here we go. This time I'm going to talk about context, and I forgot the other thing. I spent so much time testing, I forgot what I was going to talk about. So I'll talk about some changes I made. As you can see, the camera is a bit zoomed in. It's just using the zoom from NVIDIA Broadcast. I don't know if that's better or worse, exactly the same as Logitech's zoom capabilities. I'm also letting it do the tracking as well, which not really necessary. I'm not going to be moving that much, but I figured why not? If I happen to move in some direction, don't realize I'm out of frame, or don't realize I've been there for a while or something, that'll be good to have that. This is really loud in my ears. Let me pop this down. This shouldn't change anything. Yes, and I'm also using the NVIDIA Broadcast to do its fun noise tricks with the microphone, because right now, if you heard this microphone pure, you would just hear pops and blowing and everything, and it might be pushing it to its limits there. And I would have it directly in front of my mouth like this. However, then without a straw, I cannot get my wine in my face. So we will have it down here. And hopefully NVIDIA removes the sound of the wine glass scraping against the pop filter there. Maybe I do move enough for the auto thing to do some work, huh? Yeah, so I don't want to talk about anything specific in the gaming world today. I was actually founded 2 new car channels. I don't watch a lot of car content. The most car content I'll watch is 1 in 10 Doug DeMuro videos. And Doug is awesome. I just don't care about, 90% of the cars he reviews. I shouldn't say I don't care about them. I don't care about knowing all that stuff about them. I guess you could say. And it's weird because I guess Doug would have to review a car, but if you don't know Doug DeMuro, he reviews cars, but the way in which he reviews them is I forgot to put this on replay. Good thing I saw it as soon as it happened. So let me hit replay and tell it to loop and shrink it and close my video. There we go. And honestly, I should just turn off my damned monitor so I have nothing to look at but the camera. You know what? Actually, I could probably take the camera and set it down over here, so I just have a more natural. I don't know, what would be a more natural field of view. I guess lowering the monitor would be a more natural view. Because I need to look up there. You're up beyond my eyesight by. I don't know. Hold on. There by. I can't. How can I? There, that's how far above my angle I got to look at is. Anyways, Doug reviews cars, but he gets into the hyper detail. So if you like those game reviews, you've got your 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute game reviews. That tends to be about the batch of lengths you end up with for game reviews, and sometimes movie reviews. Though I usually don't see super long movie reviews like that. As a review, it's usually whatever that's called, a diatribe, thesis. That still not the right word, but those videos, those 45-minute, hour and a half, 2-hour, 5-part things that break down why a movie's amazing, why it sucks, the culture. They get into everything about it. And I'm not talking about those game videos either. That's a different thing. But you have those game videos that are 40 minutes to an hour to an hour and a half sometimes, and they are just reviewing it. They are telling you about each aspect of the game, what they think of it. And that's kind of how Doug is with the car. He gets in there and he tells you what every knob does, how every little doohickey in the car works. He's not going to go crazy and point out, here's the windshield wipers and stuff like that, but he sometimes will, because sometimes it's hey, look, here's a $120,000 car, and the windshield wiper is the same exact thing as the Honda Civic. They didn't even put the Acura windshield wiper thing in here. And so that kind of stuff is neat. It's yeah, if I got a $120,000 car, which I wouldn't, I'd be a little be like, "This is amazing. What is this? Well, what are you doing to me here? Like, everything's amazing, and you had to give me the $5 part for the windshield wipers. You couldn't just make it metal, just make it better." So where was I going with that? So game reviews. Yeah, so those game reviews that really go into that kind of extreme length, those I really enjoy. And the reason I brought that up is just because that's the kind of videos Doug makes. And the reason I brought up Doug DeMuro and his channel is because watching one of his videos, one of the, hey, try this out things, and 999 times out of 1,000 when YouTube recommends something for me, it gets it so wrong. So I don't know who writes that damned algorithm, but it never, shouldn't say never, because it worked. It recommended this video to me in this little 2-minute thing of this guy explaining, was it 0 to 60? Or was it the gas pedal? He was explaining how the gas pedal works in modern day cars and what that means, what are the pros, what are the cons. And it was fun because he delivered it in such a, like, you guys are idiots, and here's why you're idiots, kind of way, which I love. I love content like that when it's done in the right way. James. You see, I shouldn't look up stuff while I'm chatting, because usually YouTubers will edit this part out where they're looking at it, and then they'll just cut to them finding it. But I'm trying to not edit. And let's see here. One of the channels is Simi, which I don't think he works for anymore, because his last video on there was like a year ago. But it's ISSIMI, and his name is Jason, not James. Jason Karami. Let me type it in. Jason. Nope, I'm not going to find it. Anyways, if you go to Isimi, you'll see some stuff. And then the other channel is Haggerty. Haggerty makes nice content. It is definitely some high quality content. But most of it's just not for me. Not the kind of stuff I want to watch. I'd mostly just want to watch just any content Jason is in, because he's just awesome in the way he delivers information. Probably the first car personality I've seen since the British guy, Speed, who, it doesn't matter what he's doing. Aha! Jason Kamisa. Kmmisa. Kmmisa. There we go. Anyways, yeah. Go to the Haggerty thing and watch some of his videos where they're just 2 to 5 minutes long, and he explains how stuff works. And yeah, so it recommended that to me. I checked out that video. Like a couple hours later, I was just like, he must have a few other explanation videos. And I found he made like maybe 10 on that channel. I'm like, I want more. What else has this guy done? Because somewhere in there it said that he'd like worked at Car and Driver or something. So he must have a history of content going back 1 year to 20 years, because he's been in the car industry. So let's find it. Maybe there's some old TV shows he was on or in or hosted, etc. Maybe I'll find a whole host of a show, because there's so many car shows out there that don't seem to break the barrier outside of the car community. Like, I never saw any of the Top Gear US stuff until I purposely searched for it, found out like a new version of Top Gear US was coming out, and was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch the first episode. And it was so stupid. Well, it wasn't bad, but it was borderline bad. It was just stupid. It's like no one understands what makes Top Gear Top Gear. Can I quantify it right now? No. But you know what it isn't, and you can kind of piece together the pieces that make it what it is. Everyone who's ever tried to copy Top Gear, like even Top Gear themselves, when the three main guys left, when they tried to make their own, like, yeah, we want Top Gear to still be that, so we're going to do that kind of stuff. No, they utterly failed. They completely and totally failed. And the thing is even Top Gear with the main three guys and the Grand Tour, even they don't know what it is. Because a lot of the content they put out is just, maybe they're experimenting, which is fine, and things like that, but I'd say 60-70% of the Grand Tour content that gets made is not at all like the kind of stuff that makes me sit down and watch. Most Top Gear season, I don't want to say season 1, I don't think it really got off the ground until 2 or 3, but it wasn't unwatchable. But yeah, around season 2 or 3 until, I don't know, in a few years until it got modern. Their adventures are fun, but when they first started, I don't want to say first started, when they like made those adventures this yearly by yearly thing, that's when Top Gear went downhill for me, because they seemed to focus on, oh, that brings in the numbers. And for me, for other people I know, it doesn't grab our eyes, make us interested. Someone behind me? My daughter might be sneaking up again. And why did I go off on that tangent? Probably just because I'm talking about cars. Let me get a sip of my darned wine. And shrink my video so I stop looking at 16 variations of Jason's face here. But yes, just like, I want to say it's Hammond. Is Hammond the short guy? Is he the hamster? James Hammond Clarkson. Something Clarkson. That's the one. I mean, the other two guys are amazing too. Watching May like fix things, cook, and talk. Yeah. Excellent host. Hammond, I have not found a lot of Hammond's content on the side. I just haven't. But anytime I've happened to catch content, just very, very little. Anytime I happened to catch content, he was hosting. Yes, he is absolutely one of those type of people that just, if he's in it, it's probably something I'll stick around and watch, no matter how disinterested in the content I am. Excuse me, sorry. But there is an extent to that, right down to, again, many Top Gear episodes that just don't click. So that's so far every piece of content I have watched today with James in it, Jason, wow, with Jason in it has just been like, yes, I don't care about this, but I want to watch this. Your delivery of information, your attitude, your jokes, your style, this all works for me. And I don't think I felt that way about car content since the very first time I ever watched Top Gear, which for many, not old Top Gear fans, but many I'll call them middle Top Gear fans, is, well, I guess even new ones. This could, once it exists, it can work on anybody. I'm speaking of a specific episode. I'd probably do this timeline going that way, So, once the content exists going that way, then it can bring in lots of new fans. But for me, it was right around the time the episode aired. Maybe a year later, I think the other season was just starting. And I don't remember if my brother said, watch this one, or start at this season. This whole season is just solid. So if this doesn't draw you in, and thus you want to go back and watch more and go forward and watch more, then I don't know what will. Because I've watched a lot of it, and it just didn't interest me. Because I watched it I want to watch car reviews that I'm interested in. I want to watch challenges that involve cars I'm interested in. And my window of cars I'm interested in is very narrow. Cars I've owned, cars I want to own, cars I've driven to an extent. I don't mean anything, like if I ever got to drive a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, or anything exotic, I don't necessarily know if I'd care about watching content about the car I got to drive. But cars I've driven, like rentals, mostly. And then, so mostly, the cars when they were $15,000 to $40,000 range, and not much beyond that. A few exotics that I liked. A few sportier cars that maybe I'll own when I'm 60. Things like that. I want to watch those kinds of reviews, and there's very, very, very little. where if I don't want to own it, do I care about watching content about it? So that's how I watched Top Gear, just those segments of cars I cared about. And I tried to watch the other stuff, but I mostly did not grab my eye. Well, anyways, finally I sit down and I watch a few episodes of this season. I think maybe I tried a different season and then got to this episode, if this was episode 1 of a new series, or I watched the Reliant Robin one. It was the gosh darned Reliant Robin episode. And I don't want to spoil anything about that if no one's seen it. Ooh, spoilers. That's a great chat to have. Anyways, the Reliant Robin episode. If you care about spoilers, Googling it will almost definitely present you with internet things that could spoil pieces of it. I think it would still work if you had pieces of it spoiled. But to have the what moment is wonderful. So yeah, look for whatever episode, Top Gear, Reliant Robin episode. That's what got me into it. I loved it, and I think I binged watched Top Gear for like 7 hours, and that was like at 10 p.m. So I went till 4 a.m. or something, 5 a.m. just watching more Top Gear. Called out of work the next day, watched a couple episodes, went to bed, and anyone doesn't know, I'm looking behind me because I hear noises. Not sure if my daughter is sneaking up on me or if someone else is in the room. Anyways, man, why go on that tangent? So I brought up cars because of context, and I was thinking about context today because of all those car episodes and shows I watched today. And they brought up a very good point. A point that mostly hasn't affected me, because I've always had context when driving other cars. Mostly because I haven't had the chance to drive a lot of different cars. And so any car I got into, I had tons of context from one car to the other. How does this car shift? How does the stuff in it feel? How does the door handles look? How's the paint job hold up? Or how's it look new? And the comfort and the bounce and the road noise. And so your basic context. You can't hop into a car for the first time. And, well, you can. But let's focus on... I'll try to focus on a narrow field first and then expand out. You can't hop into a car for the first time and think, oh, this is a noisy car. This is a uncomfortable car. This is a great car. This is a dead quiet car. This is a very comfortable car. Now, first off, if you think those things, you're not wrong. You know, if you hop into a car and you're like, this is noisy and uncomfortable, that opinion's not wrong. But I'm speaking of the context of going from car to car and being able to say, this car falls under this comfort level compared to other cars I've tried. This car falls under this comfort level compared to other cars I've tried. And so you kind of have to go into it with that context. And to a lesser extent, I don't want to get into this too much, is the context of, okay, now the mindset of someone who's looking for that car. Well, who the hell knows what the mindset is of someone looking for car A, B, or C? You know, could be your literal... No, they're just a dipshit with a shit ton of money that has a 1-inch cock, and they want, you know, a Ford F650 lifted up to the goddamn sky with the loudest things they can so they can coal roll everybody on the road, driving around like a dipshit. And how to get into the context of that? It's like, no, not everyone who is picking up an F250, 350, etc. is after that. Which is why many, though with that said, those cars are indeed hitting the luxury area, and those drivers do exist. For the most part, the F250 and F350s, 450s, 550s, 650s, you won't even recognize most of them because they are so hyper-specialized for the markets they're going to. But that's a ridiculous example I used there. I don't know why I used it because I don't know where to go with it. But it makes me sit down and go like, no, you don't know what context I used when I picked the cars I was looking for and why I shifted from one to another and all that jazz. And I know you don't know. Well, not this reviewer specifically, but I know you don't know, and I know that 99% of reviewers don't know because I never read or watched a single frickin' car review, even the ones on Top Gear, that got anywhere near my mindset with what I wanted in a car, was looking for, cared about, did or didn't care about. I mean, you have the people who can just unload all the information possible to you, and you can try to form your own opinion, like Doug DeMuro for the car reviews. Maybe other car reviewers like him exist, but that's the first time I ever came across that. And he's not really reviewing the car per se, and the review he does give is irrelevant to me. I don't care, how he feels about the drive. Mostly, I'll take some of that info in to consider. The extremes will stick out. Oh my god, this is dead quiet. Oh my god, this is loud as hell. I can't hear myself think. The extremes will stick out to me and be a red flag or a green flag. But beyond that, excuse me, mostly don't care. I'm mostly interested in the specifics of the car. What does it do? What does it not do? And things like that. And then beyond that, I care more about how does that car hold up. Fuck J.D. Power and Associates. It's a requirement of any company I go near that you have perfect quality for the first 3-4 years I own you. If you don't have perfect quality for the first 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, I'm not even going to consider your shit. And so it's irrelevant to me about like JD Power rewards because I want longevity. I want a company that does a good job. I want a warranty that takes care of stuff, but also a car that doesn't necessarily need to have a good warranty. If you, I won't necessarily have an issue buying a product with a massive warranty, knowing that everything that goes wrong with it will be taken care of. So there is that, but I feel more comfortable getting a good car that I will be pretty sure I'll almost never need to use the warranty on. And I can be very, very good about looking at a product and going, nope, this thing sucks. Doesn't matter that I just bought it. Doesn't matter that I'm stuck with it for 7 years or whatever. I can step outside of that realm because I don't have the thing where, I spent money on it, thus I love it now and I make up excuses for why it's good. No, I spent money on it, and now I will find every fucking thing wrong with it and inform the company of everything wrong with it. And then people are like, well, why are you driving it? Why you have it? Like, because it's fine. It gets the job done, and if it was that bad, I'd pursue the routes available to me to take care of it. Trade it in. Wait for the trade-in value to go up. Wait for a good offer from the dealer. Wait for a car I want. Boom. Right? Like that? Yeah, boom. I maybe profit from the idea of it. So I'd wait for a moment like that if that was the case. If it was so bad I had to get rid of it. There's laws to protect me from very bad things. Lemon laws, things like that. I wouldn't be afraid to pursue my legal, though lemon law is a legal route, but other legal routes if it came down to that. And I've certainly pushed back against dealers and manufacturers if there was something I did not agree with. Context. So, all I meant by all that is, how the fuck does he know what's in my head? Though, with that said, I'm sure, for the most part, him getting inside of someone's head certainly works for X percentage of his readers and viewers, and same with anybody else. But watching a review of the Tiburon, for example, the Top Gear review of the Tiburon when it first came out, mostly had the kind of stuff I'm interested in. It's like, do not compare the $18,000, I don't remember how much it cost when it came out, but in those dollars. Don't compare the $16,000, $20,000 Tiburon to the Audi you were just driving, or the Maserati. It's just like, what? I don't care how it compares to those things. When it's a negative. Oh, well, the Audi does this because this sucks. It's like, wait a minute. So, this car sucks because it does this good. And the $100,000 car is that good. That's a pro, not a con, you dipshit. And that's how I will take that information. They're like, oh, yes, this only did 0 to 60 in this time. But I don't care about 0 to 60. But I'm saying is I take the metrics and I contextualize them. So when someone says 0 to 60, my contextualization is as long as it's not dog crap slow. 0 to 60 in 10 seconds certainly seems dog crap slow, but I've drove a car for 7-8 years that did 0 to 60 in 10 seconds, and you know what? That was an amazing car. It felt amazing to drive. And yeah, don't get me wrong, some highway on-ramps, did I have a lot of trouble getting on? Not really. I mean, because it wasn't 0 to 60 at that point. At that point, it was 30 or 40 to 60 or 80. And the 40 to 80 was always excellent. And this thing could hit 70, 80 in like third gear. The 06 Kia Spectra, by the way, which would also be the 06 Hyundai Elantra. And I'm sure that those engines and drivetrains, I had straight 4 i4 2-liter. If that sounds, anyways, you can look up what engines came in it. I want to say it was the i4 2-liter, and the numbers said this car was a slow piece of shit. And yeah, it was. I'd come up upon cars that were slower and shittier, but their 0 to 60 was better. And so even when I was prepping at the red light to go, these cars could still just blow me away, or I couldn't edge them out to get where I needed to go. So even if I was a little faster, it wouldn't matter sometimes, because if I need to get a quarter mile to safely get in front of this person, yeah, if you're racing, it's already unsafe, but within the realms of what you're doing, still trying to stay safe and still not be able to get in front of them, do what I need to do, or get behind them. But then again, there's a good thing. If you race somebody, then they go ahead. You're like, oh, good, I can get behind them, and now I can go where I need to go, because they zoomed off into nothingness. So you can trick people to get out of your way versus you getting ahead of them to go where you want, which, by the way, is what you should usually do. If you're trying to get in front of someone because you need to turn, you either need to do it where they're just a slowpoke, so here's you, here's them. You want to turn over here. And so you go, you get over, you turn, you complete your turn, and they are never affected. Maybe they're consciously affected, maybe their heart and mind or whatever. Maybe they're affected, like, how could that person do that? I would have let them over. But beyond that, you didn't impede them, you didn't endanger them, you didn't cut them off, you didn't do anything like that. But sometimes, I'll I'll go so I can do that. You're like, oh shoot, I'm in the wrong lane. Let's see, is this guy a slow driver? Is he a fast driver? I don't know. Let me just speed up, try to get over, make my turn. But I don't want to cause them to tap their brakes and or get off the gas, for the most part. Unless they're a dipshit or a douche, then fuck them. Who cares? You're a dipshit or a douche. You're not driving properly. I need to go where I need to go. Anyway, that's another story. So get over there and do that. But also, if you notice that they're trying to race you just because they're a douche, then you can boop and then make a turn. But then, if everyone else behind you is booking it, which almost never happens because everyone on the roads fucking everywhere is either a speed demon breaking laws, weaving in and out of shit, using lanes to pass when they shouldn't be, or they're a slow-ass dipshit doing 25 and a 35, and fuck them. Take away their fucking license. Fuck them. Assholes. So, why was I talking about that? I don't know why I went off on the tangent about the thing. I guess mostly that this car was excellent. On paper and in reviews, well, actually it reviewed very, very well. It did. Again, people reviewed it in the context of what it was. A very inexpensive car from Kia. And so I feel like the good reviews happened because they're just like, this is a Kia. It must be dog shit. And anything above the level of dog shit was amazing because it's a Kia. So I did see that in a lot of reviews, which bothered me. But when I got in that car, it was miles above anything else I had tried. And I had ridden in a few other older Kias, Hyundais, many Fords, Hondas, the occasional Cadillac, Lexus, never in a Mercedes. Have I been in a Mercedes? I think maybe I've been in a Mercedes once or twice, and a Volvo. They felt like, they both felt like riding in some diesel truck. Just like, what are people talking about? Like, the bumps aren't harsh, but this is the same ride quality in my my uncle's semi-truck when he drives to New Jersey and stuff. But I only remember like riding in them like twice. I actually just test drove a Volvo the other day. Drove like ass. Absolute shit. I think the thing weighs more than my pickup truck. Anyways. Where was I going with that? So, Subarus. Lots of Subarus. And lots of various little sports tuners. So, driving all of those, being in all of those, being around all of those, my whole life, I had experience with all of these compact, subcompact city cars. Excuse me, sorry. Compact, subcompact city cars. And I try out this, first I went there for the Kia Rio, but they wanted almost as much for the Kia Rio as they wanted for the Spectra. So I'm like, why am I going to take this tiny car? Though I loved it. I loved it inside. It was much more modern than the Spectra. But the Spectra was so much larger and had mostly the features I cared about. And the other features were nice, but they weren't value adds that I cared about. Or they weren't value adds that I couldn't add to the Spectra for extremely cheap. And by extremely cheap, I mean like a $15 adapter. You know, it's like, oh, there's no USB cable. But they only work with iPods and MP3 players, and I don't own an iPod, and I don't pipe my MP3s in that way because the MP3 player I own doesn't offer file reading. So I know it won't work. And while I would like to have an auxiliary cable, I know that I can pipe into this with a radio broadcaster, so I'm fine. And other niceties like that. So yeah, I tried this thing, and I'm like, this is wonderful. And they let me take it home for the night and then drive it back the next morning, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. I'm just like, okay, the only reason I'm not getting this is I need some more context. I need to try out some other cars, but I'm locked into this right now. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go try the car that I know I'm going to love. I know it's going to be amazing. It's going to make me realize what a piece of shit that Kia Spectra is, and it'll probably be too expensive for me to get anyways, and so I'll probably end up getting the Kia Spectra, but now I'll feel worse about it. So that's how I felt about this car. That was the Honda Civic. And the only one I could possibly afford, but even it was just outside my price range, but you know, the kind of price range where I'd be like, okay, let me wait another few months to get a large down payment and bring it down to my price range kind of car. So if I ended up wanting the Civic that bad, there was a plan. So, go to the Honda dealership. Hey, I want to try out your most basic, low-level, new. There was a reason I wanted a new car. That's a story for another day. New, but has nothing in it. I know you have one that still has roll-down windows. I want the roll-down windows because I want nothing. I want nothing because I want the cheapest Honda Civic you have. And if you don't carry it, tell me, and I'll move on to a dealer who has, or one that maybe has a +1 on the package. You know, I'll look at it. But I need the context of your most basic Civic. I can't drive some fully loaded thing because that won't give me proper context compared to the Kia. By the way, at this time, within the same models of cars, you could still have better sound dampening and ride quality. I don't know if Civic ever did it. But it did exist in many of the low-end cars, where the way they cut costs was, like, they hadn't perfected the interior being quiet in many cheap cars, and so you could have, I'm just going to use Civic as an example. I don't know if Civic ever did this. You could have a Civic that was very loud on the road, but the one step up or the two step up or the top of the line fully loaded would have foam inside of all of its metal pipes that ran everywhere that helped to dampen the sound, and maybe did something with the speakers, not noise canceling, but I guess there was some cars doing stuff and all that other jazz. So I'm like, I don't want to drive that because I need to compare the cheapest to the cheapest, and your cheapest is more than Kia's middle range. So go in, I say that's what I'm looking at. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Let me go get it ready for you. License, photocopy, all that other jazz. They bring me out to the car, and I'm like, dude, this thing's fully loaded. I can tell it is. It's got this, it's got this, it's got this, it's got the power windows. I don't want this. I wanted a basic car. And it's like, oh, it's basically the same. I was like, okay. Let me just drive it. Let me get a basic idea. I know it won't be that different overall. And we get on the road, and immediately I'm just like, wow, what a piece of shit. The thing just sounded like, I don't know. It was like it had a hole in the muffler. It didn't sound good. It just sounded annoying. And it didn't accelerate well. I think the math showed that it accelerated better, but it didn't feel. It did not feel good to drive. And then we get it on the highway, and that's when I'm like, okay, here we go. Hondas are supposed to be amazing and quiet and everything. And we get it up to 65, and I'm just like, oh my god, this road noise. And he's like, yeah, isn't it great? It's so quiet. I'm like, no, this is horrible. I just drove a 15-year-old Hyundai here, and it is quieter than this piece of shit. Which I immediately, after we went back to the dealership, and I'm like, no thank you, I'm out of here. I was angry at him because the car was so shit. And I was angry because they wouldn't show me the car I wanted to look at. And I immediately take the same path to get an immediate sense of how loud or quiet it is. And the little Hyundai accent, maybe not 15 years old, but the little Hyundai accent, cool, quiet, quick. It felt good. When I say sounded good, I mean within the realm of straight fours, within that realm of what a car can sound like. It sounded fine for what it was. It didn't sound like shit. And that sounds like, okay. Ended up checking out a couple other things. Subarus were stupid expensive. It made no sense. And there wasn't really anything else within my price range I was going to look at. I did. A Mazda 3 and a Mazda 6. They were fine. They were nice. But again, the price didn't line up for the stuff they offered. I'm like, what am I paying for here? And, of course, I also had Consumer Reports, J.D. Power, and other empirical data in front of me showing that, VW, Mazda, Ford, Honda, their quality, Kia and Hyundai's quality. By the way, Kia and Hyundai's quality was massively above the others. At this time, Kia and Hyundai were like, I don't know, 4 or 5, right below Toyota, Lexus, Porsche, and something like that. It was insane. And Ford, Mazda, and everyone else was just like 20, 30 spots below them. Maybe Subaru was 10 or 15. I think Saab was still around at the time. And so that was another huge factor for me, was I can accept less stuff in the car. I can accept some more issues because I'm buying this car to use for the next 10 years. And so that long-term quality was important to me. And I made a gamble that Kia and Hyundai were trying to be hyper quality, because at the time Toyota was just like 98% of all Corollas ever sold are still on the road, and 86% of Camrys ever sold are still on the road. So they had this marketing campaign of, there are 20-year-old cars we have made that have better quality than brand new cars off the line today of our competitors. And I was like, that's what I want to own. By the way, I never went near Toyota. They were crazy fucking expensive at the time. So I never tried a Corolla or a Camry because maybe I am misremembering, but for some reason I steered clear of Toyota. I want to say it was the price. Anyways, go back to the dealer, and all the data, all the talking. Oh, I did try a Golf, and I liked it, but the car I had previously, I was driving my father's car around. The car I had previously was a VW, and the dealer did me so wrong. I didn't want to go near it. The quality wasn't there. The experience with the dealer wasn't there. The experience with other garages was not there. My girlfriend at the time, the previous girlfriend before this, had a brand new Jetta, and it had a problem every month. And going to the dealer and then later to another garage for issues was a nightmare, and the costs were insane. Like, the turn signals stopped working on this damn thing, and they wanted $2,000. Like, they wouldn't even repair it under warranty. It was the experiences with VW, like how shitty their cars were, how shitty their service was, and how expensive all the service was ridiculous. And the amount of basic necessities on the cars that broke was ridiculous, that I was just like, nope. I tried a GTI because I always wanted to. And it may not have been a GTI, it may have just been a really nice looking Golf, because this is when VW was doing the VW campaign and pushing that shit hard. And it was really nice, but everything else about the company made me go, no, gonna steer clear from that. So, what else did I try? But yes, context. My context with all the cars I had driven up till then, how nice some of them were, how okay some of them were. Only bad cars I ever drove were Fords. They were just such pieces of shit. It was not uncommon for someone to have a 4-year-old Ford and it just die. Absolutely die. But we had, this was 98. We had a 94, 93 Taurus, and the fucking thing just fell apart. And we found another 94. It fell apart 6 months later, and that's all you heard about was these things just having issues. Someone could pull up in a Mustang and they'd have an issue and be like, it's this, I know it is because my Taurus did it. And lo and behold, it would be there. Same thing with many of the older Escorts, but not all the older Escorts. Escorts were decent. With that said, the two I had just died outright in less than a year. And yeah, these were older used. I had an 85 Escort in 95, 96, and an 89 Escort in 01. And constant problems. But that's not 100% fair, because those were old cars at the time. These days, you can get a 10-year-old car, and it's going to run better than most brand new cars did back in the late 90s, by the way. I think that's thanks to Kia and Hyundai. They stepped up the car game, where now it was Kia, Hyundai, Toyota, whatever order. I don't mean that it was in that order, but it was Kia, Hyundai, and Toyota owned the world of quality, and everyone else was falling to shit. Which, by the way, is still happening in the pickup truck market. Right now, most pickup trucks are complete pieces of shit when compared to Toyota Tacoma and Toyota Tundra. to this point, for every one Tundra that has a major mechanical failure, 20 or more F-150s will have a major mechanical failure. And it only gets worse after that. The Chevy, Ram, they are... If you're just like, hey, the Tundra is the baseline, because Tundra is not... I don't want to say Tundra is excellent quality. The Tundra still has lots of problems. and regular problems. It's a big truck. They get pushed hard. They get used hard. If you are going into a Tundra and you can barely afford it, be careful, because the repairs can be expensive. But an F-150, just so much worse. So much worse. After I got my Tundra, I had some friends, family, extended friends and family who also recently got pickups, or were just like, ooh, this is a nice truck, I want to pick up. And they went Ford, Chevy, Ram. And I don't remember what the time frame is, but let's say within 3 years, they had so many problems. So I was trying to think like the ages of each of the trucks. Most were pretty new, no more than 2 or 3 years old, because they all had this rule about not getting a truck more than 2 or 3 years old. Me, I was just like, I just wanted a Tundra that was after they fixed this issue and at this price. That's it. I didn't care. It was just like, it can be that old all the way back there, and that's fine by me. So, and everyone said, oh, your truck's going to fall apart because it has this issue. It's like, no. That issue only happened this year and this year, and they'll fix that for free. And they fixed it this year and forward, so they no longer have that issue. But it still had this bad thing. I'm just like, why don't people research shit? Why do they got to just talk out their asses? Research your fucking shit. If you're going to say that kind of shit, if you're going to make big financial decisions like buying a car, research your fucking shit. Don't just say, oh, it's a good car because magical things from the ether make me believe it's a good fucking car. It's research it. Anyways, so researched the fuck out of it. Saw the potential issues that could come up. Sadly, my truck experienced probably half of all the major failures that my truck could. Half of them were covered under warranty, then the warranty was gone, and the other half was not. Maybe a good $3,000 a year in repairs on the truck, which would break out to $300 a month, which means, yeah, that's probably close to the payments on the truck. How much was I paying on the truck? No, I was paying more than that because I wanted a really short financing period, because I was also just going to pay it off really quick. So I get the tiniest financing period I can to force me to pay it off quick, and then I pay it off even faster. So only reason I had high payments was I think I got it on a 4-year loan. Yeah, so I'm misremembering when I did that math there, so you can ignore that part. But research, see what's going to come up. Can you afford a $60,000 Corvette? Okay. Can you afford the limitations in life of owning one, or are you going to use it? I say use and abuse. Are you going to use and abuse but take care of it within that abuse, i.e. driving a Corvette all winter long, but taking care of it within that realm? So by the way, I have no idea if it's possible to drive a Corvette in winter. I'd love to know, because that's one of those cars I dream about owning later in life, and I would want to use it. I want it to be my daily driver, and I want to drive it all winter, but does that make sense? And then another question, which is way outside the realm of everything I'm talking about, is that even who they're marketing that car for? Or is that car designed to be driven in spring and summer and put away? Like, it can only be a second car situation, or a you live south of Georgia situation. So, setting aside those things, which I have yet to research, yet to look into, if I own a car, I want to use it. I will take care of it as much as I can within that usage, but I want to use it. Road trips, vacations, going through the storm, everything. It will be used. I will get in there and I will put a towel down and I will have the nice floor mats, but it's going to go to the beach and I'm going to sit in it in my wet shorts that I'll try to air out before I get in the car, but maybe it's too goddamn hot, or maybe I got to rush and leave. So I'm sitting in the car in my wet, soaked shorts and everything. And if I ever owned a Corvette, that's how I would use it. Unless I find out that you really shouldn't own a Corvette if that's how you want to use it, which is possible. Where was I going with that? Yeah, so just because you can afford a car doesn't mean you can afford a car. And maybe you can better afford a car if you properly research, which it didn't look like a lot of the people I knew could. They all, especially the Chevys were gone so fucking fast. And the only people I know now with Chevys are people who will lease, which is great. Chevys have great, like, 2-year quality or first-year quality, and then it doesn't matter because it's a lease, so everything's taken care of for free, right down to the maintenance in most of these lease packages and all that other jazz. So if that's what you want, that's a different thing we're talking about. Like I said, I buy cars to have for 10 years. And my Tundra, I'm contemplating owning for life, because god damn do I love the idea of just being a 65-year-old man and going to the store. What year will it be when I'm 65? 2040 something. Like 2050, around 2050. 2048, 2049. Anyways, and just getting out of this big, old, well-used, beat on a little, but clearly loved and taken care of Tundra, and just going to get some milk from the grocery store and all that jazz. It just, the idea, I love old pickups. Love them. One of my favorite things. And yeah, most of those are old Fords and Chevys. You know what's interesting? It's usually 250s. It's usually the old 250s and 350s you see still going. Not a lot of older F-150s around here. And for that matter, like almost no, I want to say late 90s to 2010s F-150s I see on the road. I wonder if they had some major issues. Or they're just not a lot of people around here own them. But a lot of mid-90s 250s. Don't hold those numbers too close. I could look up the way these things look and find out it was a 2005 F-250 I'm thinking of. And yeah, context. And so I don't know where I was going with all that, so I'm just going to steer in a different direction. I drive my Tundra, love my Tundra. But I love these luxury trucks. I love the idea of them. I'm like, yes, I want to use my truck, but it's also my daily driver and my road trip car. So I do want luxury. Luxury truck aimed right at me. But I'm still going to use it. You know, I still throw all my shit in the back so I can go take care of lawns. And I still use it to go pick up stuff. I mean, yes, it's just a Home Depot runner, but I'll pick up 1,000 pounds. Not 1,000 pounds. That would break the truck. 800? Say 800 pounds, I think is the most I'll put back there. And haul that. I'll go to the dump, and they will literally drive up there with a bulldozer and dump dirt into the back of your truck until you have a mound of dirt sticking out the top. You get dirt all over your truck and everything, and it takes weeks to clean the goddamn thing. And I don't clean it. I just let it be that way for a couple weeks. Especially if it's going to rain. Let the rain wash it, and then I'll go, hand wash it after that and clean it up. Let nature clean it first, and then after a couple weeks, whatever nature left behind, I'll take care of, give it a good wax every 3-4 months. But I still want that luxury truck. And so I did check out Toyota's luxury stuff. It's garbage. It's such shit. Everything Toyota does luxury is shit. It is just above what most other car companies do for their normal car. For the niceties and features they offer and how nice it feels to be inside of it. I was at the dealer getting an oil change, and I'm like, let me hop inside the new Highlander. Let me hop inside the new Land Cruiser. The Land Cruiser, I wouldn't care too much about that. But dear God, $90,000? No. Let me hop inside of the Camry, the Avalon. The Avalon, their goddamn luxury car. And it's fine. It's fine. I get inside and I don't feel luxury. I get inside of the Tundra 1794 edition, and it's like, yeah, it's nicer, but instead of shitty plastic, you just use shitty chrome. That's not nicer. No. You went into Microsoft Paint and made something look nicer, but you still made it in Microsoft Paint. That's not a good analogy, because people can do amazing things in Microsoft Paint. Yeah, so I started looking at the other brands. And the thing that, like I said, Toyota's luxury shit is just a step above everybody else's normal. To give you an idea of how basic Toyotas can seem inside, Toyota needs to find someone to do interiors, because their interiors suck. And they need to find someone who picks their accessories, because their accessories suck. They suck. They suck. There, I have complexities to that opinion, but it is so bad. I'm fine just saying they suck. So I see a new Ram. I see inside of it. I get inside of it. It feels amazing. And it's just like a mid-level. It's just like a mid-level Ram. $30,000 less than Toyota's luxury Tundra. And I'm like, this. Fords are a bit more basic. And Ford is another company where their luxury is hot garbage. So let me rephrase that. Toyota's luxury is hot garbage. Ford's is maybe slightly less hot garbage, but it's still just, you get inside and you're just like, that is literally the same headlight thing. You didn't even change the headlight thing. It is this cheap, giant piece of shit knob. What are you doing here? What is going on? But it does feel nicer overall. It does have niceties that feel better overall. But a basic Ram interior, better than the best F-150. Without a doubt. Silverado, Chevy definitely making definitely much nicer feeling stuff. And from what I can tell from Chevys, because I got to drive a lot of them, is they seem to really bring, like, sometimes telling the difference between the Cadillac, Buick, Chevy interiors is like a logo. If you blindly were placed inside of the top of the line Chevy Impala, you'd be like, I'm forgetting my car models here. Hopefully I get this right. You'd be like, is it Buick Lucerne or Cadillac? I don't remember the Cadillac model, but I remember getting inside of a Cadillac and just being like, I don't know why I didn't see it, why I didn't notice it. I get inside to drive the Cadillac, and I was like, oh, the Impala. Everything was in the same exact spot. Or was I comparing it to the Buick Lucerne? I want to say it was the Impala. And I just get inside and just like, everything was the same. But, I should say everything. So much was the same, but the steering wheel was nicer. And the center thing had a cushion. And, oh, there's some chrome there. It had like this slight, like, oh, I didn't know Impala came in this trim. And then I like look at the thing I had, and it said Cadillac. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I get outside of the car, and I'm like, oh, it's Cadillac. Which also brings me to my point, is why I don't care about luxury cars, is They want double the price or more, and it's just a little better. So the other car companies do their interiors so nice that going up to their luxury stuff is like, why? And then someone like Toyota does their interior so horrible that they're never going to sell their luxury stuff, because their luxury stuff is worse than another car company's base model. Well, maybe not quite base model, but mid-tier, second-level package, not even fully loaded. No. The fully loaded luxury Tundra doesn't touch the second-level package on the F-150 and Chevy Silverado, or the first-level package on a Ram. Just Toyota, figure your shit out. But with that said, I don't quite care. I don't care if they figure this shit out, because it's like, oh good, the top-level Tundra is garbage. You know, there's nothing in there that's worth it to me to pay even a single extra dollar for. So, yay, I keep my base level Tundra. But at the same time, it sent me on a search, and that search was anytime I needed to rent a car, I rented a Chevy Silverado, a Ram pickup, a couple of others I'm forgetting. F-150 I didn't rent. I got to drive that for a couple days, but I'm forgetting everything, because it was a lot of this stuff was just like a trip to a thing, overnight, trip back, returned, done, and instant garbage, instantaneous garbage. The F-150 being the best, but still garbage. It felt like such a clunker to drive, the F-150, or I should say, the F-150 felt the best for overall feeling, but was the worst in the feeling to drive. Second best to drive was the Ram, but only a close second. It was just such a shit experience. I think the Ram interior was designed for... It was not meant for anyone taller than 5'9", because it is impossible for me to fit in a goddamn Ram. It is uncomfortable as fuck. They did not design that car for tall people. It does not feel big inside somehow. And just tiny, not fun to drive, doesn't feel quality to drive. Just something about it just feels cheap and shitty. Same with the F-150. But not as shitty to drive, just shittier feel. And then the Chevy was absolutely the nicest feeling one to drive of those. But this brand new F-150, this brand new fully loaded Ram, this brand new fully loaded Chevy, we're all here in overallness. Again, the F-150 being a bit better to drive. So drive quality, Ram, Chevy, Ford, just a good notch above them. Overall quality, Ford, Ram, Chevy. And my 10-year-old Tundra was like here. Everything felt better. Everything felt more solid. The ride quality was nicer. The sound in the cabin was better. The room was better. There was more foot room in my Tundra double cab, which is the small 4-door, than there was in the Ram full size. It was astonishing how much better that car was than those. Not to mention the quality and everything. So those other car companies, and on top of that, when you look at the data, you also find out their powertrains, their engines, and their other mechanicals are hot dog shit because of how much they have problems. And I'm being very hyperbolic there. I'm speaking with great hyperbole there. They're obviously not that bad. Everything are like degrees of here, which is the other. Let me clarify everything I just said with the worst car made today, except for Jeep, is still better than the best car made 15 years ago. Or that was true 10 years ago. I don't know if that's still true today, but 10 years ago that was true of the 2010s compared to the late 90s stuff. So with that caveat that it is a narrow field here, the field is narrowing. But yeah, so the biggest reason I haven't left my Tundra is because the newest of these cars, and like I said, I got a bunch of people I work with now that have Chevys, and they're nice inside, but it's still just like, what is this? What am I in? You all need to try a Tundra because this is dog shit on so many levels. And you all need to look at a goddamn chart because it's dog shit on every metric you can measure. And I'm not talking performance and stuff like that. That's a whole different thing. Performance, gas mileage, yeah. The Tundra is the worst for most performance metrics, but only by a notch. And the Tundra is the worst for most gas mileage metrics. But for all that money you're wasting on gas, saving on gas in your Ford and Chevy, you're spending it on engine repairs every couple of years because holy shit. Or something else in the powertrain. I've really gone off the rails there, and I've lost any semblance, any sign of a point I was trying to make with this video. So what are we at? 1 hour and 6 minutes of jabbering. No one's gonna watch this. Anyways, I just noticed the camera pan. I realized it's like still following me. Like center? No. I'm trying to see if it like thinks my hands or faces. Anyways. My voice feels like it's going after jabbering on loudly for over an hour. And I've lost any point I was trying to make here. Right. I guess, yes, my conclusion would be you need context. Thank you. You need context for when making comparisons. With that said, if you think something is amazing or you think something is dog shit, those absolute opinions are fine. You just have to hold it into like, this is amazing. If there's something better than this, then wow. And this is dog shit. If there's something worse than this, then wow. And then if you hear the dog shit is the best, you're like, really? That's the best? Like when I try an F-150. And then when you get into something like the Tundra, and you're just like, I love this. This is amazing. This is wonderful. And you find out it's like the lowest selling. You're like, really? Does anyone try other stuff? And yeah, just having that context. And so there's your absolute opinions. And then you form those questions to gain your context. And you go get the context, like I did, trying the other vehicles, seeing what they're like. Take the reviews into account. Take the empirical data into account. Take what you want into account. Take the price into account. Everything else. Form your own opinion. And, say as much. It's just like, this is my opinion based on this info. And the thing is many people on the internet will still be like, oh, you're clearly an idiot because this reviewer said this is amazing and 20 reviewers said it was amazing. So you're clearly wrong. It's like, no, it's an opinion. You can't be wrong about an opinion. They just simply are different. There's no opinion except yours. There's different opinions. And which kind of counteracts all the other stuff I just said. But I guess my point was the empirical stuff, but also this is so different. How do you like this? Which I don't know anyone I can ask that of because everyone I know is so hardcore about how perfect their vehicle is, despite having so many problems. And I've gave up my conclusion there because I went back down my little rabbit hole. Yeah, anyways. So yes, with games, forming context. With movies, forming context. With many things, forming context. And at the same time, who cares? Get what you like what you like, and fuck everything else.